are listening to a special Talk Geekly podcast presentation.
Welcome to a very special Talk Geekly. Tom here, one of the hosts, and of course I'm joined by Cody, and we're doing the Snyder Cut, baby.
Yeah, I'm way excited for this, and I'm not gonna try to hide my excitement, geeks and geekettes, because this is Zack Snyder's like redemption, I feel. And wow, we're gonna try our best.
There's a lot.
Unpack 4 hours worth of just our thoughts, and try to condense it as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we start off with the fact that no one ever saw this coming. You know, like, we had a movie, we had Justice League in 2017, and that's where we left it. But the internet did not give up. They wanted to see Zack Snyder's vision, and this last Thursday, we got to see that. Absolutely.
And one of the things for me, man, it dropped at like 3 a.m. my time. I was like, come on. I had to be up at 9. There was no way. So what I had to do, I literally had to watch like 2 hours of it at work. I had to get home. I took the night off from streaming, watched the other 2 hours. I fell asleep during like the last like 30 minutes. So I woke up early this morning and like just finished like the last hour. So I knew exactly what was going on because I was a little foggy. And man, I do not have the time in the day to sit down for 4 hours.
I certainly feel you. I mean, me personally, I had to leave work early. You know, I wasn't going to stay up the night before, but I left work early just so I could watch the film. And I'm glad I did, because those 4 hours, you would think 4 hours is definitely going to feel like 4 hours. But I'll admit, for me, the 4 hours flew by fast, so much so that I watched it a second time today, because I was just like, all right, I got to see it again just to catch the things that I might have missed because I was distracted. But I mean, I want to ask you, I think we're giving a lot of preface here. Let's jump into the film, man. Like, for the beginning, when it starts off, what's the first thing that stands out for you that really just makes you happy or makes you mad?
Well, I love that this takes place directly after Batman versus Superman. It bleeds into it perfectly, just like how Batman versus Superman bled into Man of Steel, I want to say. Like, so it makes it just like a seamless transition almost. And I was really happy with that introductory compared to the first one. I almost can't remember the first Justice League because of just how different this movie was.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the best part about this whole situation. Is we're normally used to a director's cut being like 20 minutes of extra footage, or not even 20 minutes, man, maybe 5 minutes. This is a complete reimagining of an entire film, top to bottom. Like, honestly, it really, really is. And I think for me, one of the biggest moments is probably going to be just the stuff that they do with the characters in the original that we never really had a chance to kind of find out about them, you know. And I think one of the first ones for me would definitely be the Flash. We got to see a way more personality from the character, not just in scenes with him in everyday life, but in some of the extended scenes of him in the suit. I mean, I'm sure you'd agree, like we get a lot more Flash.
Yeah, the story was a lot more fleshed out. I really loved how they introduced his wife to be, and you really have to consider and look into it to see it. And just that whole scene in particular where he's trying to get a job and he sees this car accident happen, and in just slow motion you see him disintegrate his shoes with how fast he's running. That attention to detail I loved. Steals a hot dog in slow motion and then is like petting the dogs afterwards, just trying to play it off. I was like, yes, more of this, please, because the last Flash, it was just a bunch of like quips and one-liners, and this gave him more of a personality, and I'm here for it. Yeah. Another character, Cyborg. This was like his redemption. I felt like this gave us a cyborg we never even got to fully feel in the last Justice League.
No, for sure, especially with a lot of the scenes of him still being, Victor Stone and not being Cyborg just yet. I think that they definitely, or I shouldn't even say they, Zack definitely fleshes out that character a lot more. But I feel for me, some of the most important stuff, of course, just like all the other crazy people out in the internet, was, all right, what are they going to do as far as Darkseid is concerned? Because obviously in the original film, we had no Darkseid. We knew that he was connected just because of his relationship to Steppenwolf, but we didn't have Darkseid in the film. And having him in this film is just, oh my God, it shakes me to the core, because this is what I envisioned for a legit DC villain. You know what I mean?
So yes, it gives the narration more direction. Instead of Steppenwolf being just power hungry, now he's seeking redemption. He's seeking the ability to come back home because he messed up, and he's trying to win Darkseid's favor. He's trying to get Darkseid to want to allow him to come back, and that just drove him. It gave him more of, I guess, a human personality instead of just some CGI blob. And we're not even like breaking into the detail in his armor. One of my favorite things is when he's talking to Darkseid, you see him tremble and kneel, and he even like resends his armor, to show weakness to him. Yeah. And I truly love that, and it gave the villain more of a villainous feeling instead of just some bland, cutout.
No, I think, like, compared to the original, out of all the changes within this film, without Darkseid and without that relationship with him and Steppenwolf, and changing that original battle scene, because in the original film, the giant battle that took place, thousands of years ago, that was Steppenwolf. But in this film, it's Darkseid. Without any of this happening in this film, we are not as excited as we are right now. That's my opinion. I feel like that is what actually gave it a dire like a sense of dread, a sense of like, this is the dire shit. So
I think this is a perfect point to turn the tide and kind of talk about things we didn't like, because that right there, like Darkseid, he got defeated, and we got to see some really cool heroes introduced that we'd never seen before, such as we were talking Zeus, we had Artemis, as well as who was the other one, Tom? Beowulf, yes. And I thought Beowulf, a lot of people are saying it's Ares. I went ahead and, Tom told me to, just look. He's like, take a second and just look at it, how Beowulf look. And I gotta agree, he looks just like Beowulf. But Darkseid spent all that time looking for the planet that he ultimately couldn't grab. How did he not remember? Why did it take so long? That was my biggest question when I hit that scene.
Well, I think, like, you got to remember that axe shot left him, when they pulled him into the ship, he was bleeding an insane amount, and he passes out. So I can't help but feel like, if he's traveling using these boom tubes, which is how, Darkseid travels. And it was random, I'm thinking in my head, and you pass out, your army runs away. I could see him not remembering. I don't know.
None of those ships have GPS.
I'm just trying to like make an excuse, man. I'm with you. I feel, you make sense. You're right.
It was awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I gotta nitpick. If I'm gonna love a movie, I gotta nitpick it too. And that was honestly one of my biggest gripes. Like, that left a plot hole. I had no idea. It's like, your Darkseid, bro. Like these are you would easily destroy this human race if it wasn't for these superheroes. These gods. Outside of that, though, I really didn't have a lot of other issues. Well, there was, I guess, Barry. Do we want to talk about that? His quote unquote special ability?
Well, I mean, I think that definitely is going to be important to talk about in just a little bit. But I think before we get to like kind of the conclusion of what we thought, because I think that's going to be a big part of the conclusion, I kind of want to touch base on just obviously the other big thing that fans were super excited about, which was Black Suit Superman. And the reason I want to talk about this is because even though I'm a huge fan of that costume and I couldn't wait to see it on screen, this is actually my only problem with the film, is he gets to pick a costume. All right, we see his dad's armor, we see his red and blue, we even see armor that looks like Zod's. And then we don't get to see the black suit, but then all of a sudden he's wearing it and there's no explanation why he wore it. That kind of bugged me because in the comics it made sense. It was a regenerative suit, it absorbed solar radiation to empower him, and just not having that explanation, it really irked me.
And you know what? Now that I think about it, it really wasn't fully fleshed out. But I do remember the scene where he flies up and he
flies up and gets that sun, gets those sun rays. But we don't know it's because of the suit. They never say that.
So oh man, there's just so much. And we are missing a lot of points, and I guess we're holding out on a lot of points. Yeah, because we'd be talking for
hours, dude, right? I mean, let's be realistic here.
Martian Manhunter was a big point for me that I necessarily didn't dislike, but I'm skeptical because you said this was something that fans really suggested that Snyder ran with, how he was the general in Superman Man of Steel. So the Martian Manhunter has always been in the DC universe.
Let's talk about Martian Manhunter for a second here. The guy's been there all along and he decides when they need him to not be there. What's up with that? Was he scared? Like, no, I mean, in the comics, the Martian Manhunter is one of those heroes who is like close to the level of Superman. You know what I mean?
He's one of the founding members of the Justice League, if I remember correctly.
Yes, right? He is. Him and Green Lantern, which are the two characters we're missing, even though we got a alien Green Lantern. But I mean, like, the Martian Manhunter's OP. Why did he not show up to fight Steppenwolf?
Green Lantern's OP than depending on which arc you're reading. Like, both characters should have had more screen time. But that's the thing, though. This movie, and granted, it was 4 hours long, had to basically give you like the backstory for like three characters. Like this movie was supposed to set the tone for Aquaman, and this was supposed to, and it's so crazy while we're on it. If you listen to Amber Heard's character in Aquaman, she talks, I think, with an American accent or whatever. She's British in this one, right?
Yeah, she got a British accent.
Yeah. And we got to see a lot more of a fleshed out story for Aquaman too, and his like how he was super reluctant to like take the mantle for his people, for his race, and all that. I thought that part, we're just jumping back and forth, and I have such a bad habit, but
it's gonna happen when it's something this epic. You can't avoid it,
man. So Aquaman, I felt, was, lack of better words, I guess, not a douche, but a Chad in the first Justice League. And he's still a Chad in this one, but he's a much more relatable Chad. You know what I mean?
I think he's always going to be a Chad. That's just how they wrote the character. I don't think that's going to change. I mean, I like him. Don't get me wrong, but I think that's probably what I like about the character, because he's not the Aquaman that I know. You know how they say, like, this is not the superhero you want, this is the superhero you need? That's how I kind of feel with Aquaman. It's not the Aquaman I want, it's the one I need, and it works. I dig Jason Momoa and what he does. And like you said, I think like another character that really got a chance to shine that did not get a chance to shine in the original, because we didn't have the interactions with I don't know, I think his name's Vorek, I can't even remember his name, but the Willem Dafoe character, like those interactions were things that that made sense, and they definitely not only helped this film, but they do help to set up the Aquaman film as well.
No, absolutely. And it's remarkable how much was withheld from us, like how much footage was just not shown to us that made such made such sense in the movie. A big thing I guess we forgot to talk about too is this movie is filmed in a different ratio than it was presented to us in the original film.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. So, obviously most films nowadays are widescreen format, 16:9, and HBO and Warner Brothers, they're trying to tell us that Zack Snyder's original vision was a 4:3 aspect ratio. I'm calling bullshit. All right. And the reason I'm calling bullshit is because there's no way in hell he would have wanted 4:3 aspect. The reason why I think they went with that route is because it was easier for them to edit a lot of the footage that never saw final editing, because then they didn't have to worry about some of the backgrounds and some of the bleed out areas. So not only would it make it a faster editing process, it would also save them a lot of money. But that's just me being a paranoid schizophrenic. I don't know how you feel.
Well, I'm wondering if maybe it had something to do with the streaming service too. Like, it's easier, because that's the thing. Some people had issues, with getting the film to even play. The servers for HBO Max, I think, shut down when it launched for a little bit. But I'm wondering, I'm not very versed in this, but I'm wondering if maybe at that type of ratio or whatever, if rendering it for like the standard definition.
Well, apparently
viewers,
the pixel density was still HD density. So I don't think that would have necessarily played a part in it. You have to remember though, yeah, the servers were going to go down no matter what, because this was probably one of the most anticipated film events of the modern era. I think honestly the only other thing that was as anticipated would probably be Endgame. I think Endgame, yeah, that's just my humble comic book nerd opinion, but I think like these are the two most anticipated films of all time.
No, I would agree with you on that one, and I would say this would be a perfect segue to I guess our conclusion on just our overall thoughts and maybe
hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Do we want to start there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the fact that the fans were able to get this created goes without saying that you should always voice your opinion, because they kept the good fight going when it seemed bleak, and here we are.
Yeah. And that hashtag restore the Snyderverse is legit. I think that is exactly what needs to happen, because we got in this film everything that we wanted as a fan. We got the setup for all of the other movies. We got the setup for Aquaman, and we damn well got the setup for Flashpoint. Take it away, Cody. Talk about it.
Well, so this was the thing. The Flash, like, he always made a mention like I shouldn't do this. Is bending the rules. And I was wondering, I'm like, okay, here we go. And he shows us that he can actually reverse time, and he does so. And as we all know, if you're versed, like, that's going to lead us to Flashpoint.
Yes.
We go further. So this is going to be some of the most pivotal parts for me. Cyborg, when he's kind of like learning about himself and learning to control himself, he sees this flash forward, like a little glimpse, deja vu, whatever you want to call it, of Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Lois Lane, and their deaths. And it's like that nightmare verse that we seen in Batman versus Superman.
Well, this would have been in the original Justice League, the nightmare.
I thought Batman versus Superman, he had a nightmare where he seen Superman become bad, and that's why he wanted to fight Superman.
No, he just wanted to fight Superman because Superman brought aliens to Gotham and destroyed all those buildings. And
I'm pretty sure he had a nightmare. He because this played off the nightmare verse. Hold on.
Yeah, the nightmares from Justice League.
Let me type this up on my clack keyboard real quick. Yeah, there's definitely the nightmare scene. If you look, Batman versus Superman nightmare scene. So that definitely happened. There might.
It's when he's in the armored car and he walks in there and he's all chained up.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's in Batman v Superman. You're right. No, you're definitely right, because I'm slowly remembering the scene, and that's why I said it. Armored car. I remember, because he had the soldiers and shit.
And I really do think it's important to capitalize off that, because it's world building. Like, this has been built into the world previously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the Snyderverse. That's why DC needs to make this happen. They made the movie happen. Now they need to do whatever it is possible to get Zack Snyder to make the sequel and to keep on going with what he had envisioned.
Oh, man. And the vision is beautiful, because it is bleak. We see a potential evil Superman, because Lois Lane is dead. And one of my favorite parts, it actually bridged the gap, because we see Batman mention seeing Flash, and then you get to see a glimpse of that Flash in the future. So this is all kind of showing us there's going to be different timelines. This Flashpoint paradox is going to happen, or was. Because as far as we know, Snyder's done, right? I mean, so that's what's interesting, is just a few weeks ago, he was interviewed where he said he was done. And then just a couple days ago, apparently, I think it was Entertainment Weekly or something, where he says never say never. And that would make sense because, dude, come on. When he is talking to the Joker, and the Joker is definitely a lot better than Suicide Joker, and the Joker talks about killing his adopted son, I was like, oh my God, here we go. Like, dude. Never send a boy wonder to do a man's job. Oh man, and there's just so much to unpack. But I think this is such a perfect point to just leave it as it is right now. And maybe, who knows, maybe we get another couple watches in and we give you a little bit more of an intense breakdown. I don't think that's off the table yet. But Tom, I gotta ask you, out of 5 stars, what do you give this? This is a 5. This is 6. It breaks the charts. I can't give it 5 stars. I gotta give it more. Hands down. And I do want to say I love what Snyder did. You might not have noticed, but there was a part in the movie where he lingered on the hotline number, and he made it in memory to his daughter. Yep, he did. So I mean, he did an amazing job. Yes, and I do want to add this. Anyone out there, if you're going through anything, please reach out. Please, there's numbers out there. There's hotlines. Please reach out and call them. Reach out to family and friends. You're not alone in this. And that was a big point made in this movie, I felt. Yeah, there's always someone out there willing to listen. And you might not want them to listen, but they'd be willing to listen. So. Absolutely. And Geeks and Geekettes, that does wrap up this special premiere tonight. As always, you can check us out on our respective social media platforms at Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, so much more at Talk Geekly. And Tom, why don't you sign us off? Well, I would normally say the whole, as always, but this time I'm just going to end it with hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Come on.
What's that in the sky? It's a bird.